Here we are back in the garage with the Golf. Today, we're going to drop the fuel tank so we can finally get to the brake line. Hopefully I'll have everything back together today. I'm optimistic. This is where the fuel pump is. Gonna open it and disconnect it. There you have it. Rumor has it that if you press the tab that used to be right here, you should be able to pull this connector off. But when I pressed mine, it just broke. So I've had to get beneath it so that I can pull the black plastic away from this white part here. To take off the fuel line connections, these have little tabs you'll press in here and here. You press them in and you can pull them off. When I put my hands there, the camera can't see it, but that's how you do it. Got a little surprise. I was cleaning up the little bit of the fuel that spilled, and I noticed some sort of gasket material maybe, or RTV. I'm hoping that is not another surprise. Now that I have it all the way out, I'll take a good look at it. They just put RTV in there and shoved it on. So I suspect the O-ring is bad. I can make one of these from parts you can get at an auto parts store, but I'm gonna see if I can find one that is already made. I'm going to remove the inner fender liner to give me more access to the fuel tank and the filler line. There's a bunch of these little screws that have a Torx fit head. So I'm going to take all of them out. I think that's all of them. I might as well take out this rear shock since I'm going to replace the bump stop anyway, and it's easier to access this one over here. Okay, now I'm under the car. To orient you, this direction is the spare tire, and that direction is the front of the car. You need to remove this plastic cover, and there are some fasteners here. Let's see if you can see it. So there's some fasteners here, here, and there's one up here, and then there's another one on the other side. Those need to be removed in order for us to remove the fuel tank. Let's see. I'll try and give you a better view so you can see how they come off. These are the ones closest to the spare tire well. I'm just going to try and pop it on the other side of that clip. Hope I don't break anything. It's a bit rusted. All right. Since doing this, I've learned that leaving the fasteners in the panel and just pulling it off could force them over the studs. I might try that next time. And where is the last one? It's up here. Alright, this thing should come off now, right? Great. As a refresher, this is why we have to drop the fuel tank. This brake line is compromised and as you can see, it goes beyond the tank, which is this right here. So to do that, the tank needs to come down, and if you follow, the tank comes up here to the filler neck, and I don't know why Volkswagen needs all this stuff. But this is where you fill the gas. Here's a filler neck, and what is all this stuff? So I'm going to make sure that when I drop the tank, I'm going to try not to break anything that's over here. Definitely want to remove this guy. Easier said than done. It's probably going to break like everything else. Nope. It's coming. Wonderful. Alright. What next? It was hard to get good views of the fuel tank removal, but other than being cumbersome, it really was not that bad. There is a hole over there that a bolt goes through that holds it up on the driver's side of the car. Of course, you have the two straps that are pretty easy to remove. And then you have this stuff that goes up to the filler neck. There's a bolt that goes down there on the bottom, and two bolts that connect up here. And they are in the rear passenger fender wall. This is for the bottom one, and the top ones are here and here. And once you disconnect those, you can drop the fuel tank. There's only one electrical connector, and that goes to this. Okay, so I got the fuel tank dropped, and now you can see the line better. So what I'm going to try and do is splice in about right here, and hopefully that'll work. So I am going to take this off, see the thread size that I need to go into the new one, and start cutting. There she is, all rusted. This brake line did not want to come out of this mounting bracket. Damn. I'm just gonna see if I can take it out. As you can see, this has pretty much fused into being one piece. I'm going to try and salvage it because I don't want to have to wait for another one, but damn, that's a lot of rust. I'm going to soak it in some Evapo-Rust and see if it comes out. Hopefully it's warm enough outside for this to work. So here's a new one. That looks a lot better. So now I'm just going to figure out what size that fitting is and make a union so that I can replace the bad section of brake line. So I went to O'Reilly's and I got some stuff to fix the brake line. I got one line. This will likely be the length I'll use, and I made sure the thread will go into the new brake hose I got. And I got another one because they didn't have these by themselves, but I'll cut this and use the other side to go into the union. So that should be enough to do it. These are the tools I'm going to need to replace the brake line. Got my pipe cutter with built-in deburr. This is also a deburring tool. Pipe bender, decent one, really cheap one. And the flaring tool set. This is what you'll use to make that end that seats into the fitting. So here we are at the damaged brake line. I think I'm going to try and cut it off here. And although I didn't show you this one when I was showing you the tools, I also have this little pipe cutter. And you can see why I want to use it here. It's a little smaller, and I'll need less clearance to cut the pipe. So let's go ahead and pick a straight section. All right, it's cut. Now I'm going to deburr it. I didn't expect that to do much on this little tube, but it did clean it up a little bit. I might have to hit the inside a little bit more. Call that good enough. If you've never flared brake line, it's a good idea to practice on some tube that you're not going to use. I decided to practice because it's been years since I've flared any brake line, and I want to make sure that when I get under the car that I know what I'm doing. And I'm glad I did, because the first time it didn't go well. I checked the end of the cut line one more time, and then I slid the fitting on. It took me a couple of tries to get both sides of the clamp even with each other, but once I did, I slid a jack stand under the car to help support the weight of it, and then I made the flare. While it was not easy, I got that fitting on. So here is the union. I'll position it, then I can tighten it later. So now, just have to bend this guy such that it comes back over to the bracket that houses the soft brake line. So I'm gonna go see if the evaporust worked. It got some of the rust off, but not enough for me to get the brake line out of the bracket. So I had to use force. Dadgummit. Rusty, rusty, rusty. So we got the bracket back on, and now we can fit the new soft brake line with the clip. So here's the old line. Here is the new line. They seem to be of similar length. So I'm going to try and roughly match this with this one. So that's a soft bend. Let's see if I can do that. Let's see. That's close. A little much. They sort of look alike. Let's see. You know what? I don't think that looks bad. There you have it. Brake lines repaired. Just got to tighten them down. Then I can continue with the rest of the work. If you recall, this is the fuel line that I removed and noticed RTV sealant in one of the quick disconnects. I suspect they did that because it was leaking. And rather than replace the fitting, they just decided to put RTV sealant on it. I'm not going to replace the fitting either. After having little luck finding one that fit quickly at one of my local auto parts stores, and I don't want to wait for one to show up, I looked into how these things seal. And there's an O-ring that lives inside this fitting and seals on the outside of the mating tube. I had this O-ring kit that I bought a while back that is metric and nitrile, so it is compatible with fuel, and it has lots of different size O-rings in there. So I pulled the O-rings out of the fitting, and it looks like I have two options that are close. The one on the center are the ones I took out of the fitting, and the one on the right is slightly larger. The one on the left seems to be the right size or slightly smaller. But if it is slightly smaller, I think it'll be okay to use because the O-ring thickness is slightly more. That could be because it is new and has not been compressed for decades. But I'm going to go with this one here. I'm going to put it on the inside of the fitting and we should be good. Let's see if I can get these things in here. All right. I know you probably can't see that, but I was able to get it in. I'm going to do this side. The other side went in a lot easier. I think it was beginner's luck. It's in there. Cheap fix, a bit tedious, but a much cheaper and quicker fix if you have one of these. I think I picked it up at Harbor Freight, and I couldn't verify what material these were, so I didn't use them. I think I picked these up at AutoZone or somewhere, but it's useful to have an assortment of O-rings if you're doing this kind of stuff. I'm going to go ahead and put this fuel line back on. Alright. Well, I think that's a good stopping point for today. I'm going to leave installing the fuel tank for the next video. I didn't get as far as I hoped today, but I did make good progress. If you're interested in seeing more of the work I do on my Mark IV Golf, hit subscribe. Thanks for watching. Take care.